Dealings with the Dead, number 21. It is commonly supposed that the burial of articles of value with the dead is a practice confined to the Indian tribes and the inhabitants of unenlightened regions, who fancied that the defunct were gone upon some far journey during which the accompaniments would be useful. Such is not the fact. Chilperic, the fourth king of France, came to the throne in 456 of the Common Era. In 1655, the tomb of Chilperic was accidentally discovered in Tournai. Restoring unto the world, says Sir Thomas Browne, Volume 3, page 466, much gold adorning his sword, 200 rubies, many hundred imperial coins, 300 golden bees, the bones and horseshoes of his horse interred with him, according to the barbarous magnificence of those days in their sepulchral obsequies. Stowe relates in his survey of London that in many of the funeral urns found in Spitalfields there were, mingled with the relics, coins of Claudius, Vespasian, Commodus, and Antoninus, with lacrimatories, lamps, bottles of liquor, and so on. Well, lavish graves and receptacles and all that sort of stuff, you know, if you're going to have one, you're really going to tend to have the other, right? As an old sexton, I have a right to give my advice, and the public have a right to reject it. If I were the owner of a lot in some well-governed cemetery, I'd have placed around it a neat, substantial iron fence and paint it black. In the center, I would have a simple monument of white marble and of liberal dimensions, not pyramidal, but with 4 rectangular faces, to receive a goodly number of memoranda, not one of which should exceed a single line. I would have no other monument, slab, or tablet to indicate particular graves. I would have a plan of this lot and preserve it as carefully as I preserved my title papers. Probably I should keep a duplicate in some safe place. When a body came to be buried in that lot, I would indicate the precise location on my plan and engrave the name and the date of birth and death and nothing more upon the monument. If the dryness and elevation of the soil allowed, I would dig the graves so deep that the remains of 3 persons could repose in one grave, the uppermost 5 or 6 feet below the surface. After the burial of the first, the grave would be filled up and an even sodded surface presented as before until reopened. Thus, of course, those who had been lovely and pleasant in their lives, like Jonathan and Saul, would in death be not divided. This, so far from being objectionable, is a delightful idea, embalmed in the classical precedents of antiquity. It is a well-known fact that urns of a very large size were occasionally in use in Greece and Rome for the reception and commingling of the ashes of whole families. The ashes of Achilles were mingled with those of his friend Patroclus. The ashes of Domitian, the last and almost the worst of the 12 Caesars, were urned, as Suetonius reports in chapter 17, with those of Julia. With the Chinese, it is very common to bury a comb, a pair of scissors, to pare the nails, and 4 little purses containing the nail parings of the defunct. Jewels and coins of gold are sometimes inserted in the mouths of the wealthy. This resembles the practice of the Greeks and the Romans, of placing an obelisk, crowns fee in the mouth of the deceased. This arrangement, in regard to the nail parings, seems well enough as they are clearly part and parcel of the defunct. Rings, coins, and costly chalices have been found with the ashes of the dead. Avarice, curiosity, and revenge, personal or political, have prompted mankind in every age to desecrate the receptacles of the dead. The latter motive has operated more fiercely upon the people of France than upon almost any other. No nation has ever surpassed them in that intense ardor, nor in the parade of magnificence with which they canonize. No people upon earth can revive the bitterness and fury with which they curse. Lamartine, in his history of the Girondist states that dragons of the Republic spread themselves over the public places, brandishing their swords and singing national airs. Thence they went to the church of Val de Grace, where they were enclosed in silver urns were the hearts of several kings and queens of France. Those funeral vases they broke, trampling underfoot those relics of royalty, and then flung them into the common sewer. And how shall we deal with the dead? With a reasonable economy of space. A lot of the common area of Mount Auburn or Forest Hills will suffice for the occasion of a family of ordinary size for several generations. In reopening one of these graves for a second or third interment, the operative should never approach nearer than 1 foot to the coffin beneath. The careless manner in which the bones are sometimes spaded up by grave diggers results from their want of precise knowledge of previous inhumations. Common sense indicates the propriety of keeping a regular topographical account of every interment. But it is quite time to bring these lucubrations to a close. To some, they may have proved interesting and doubtless worrisome to others. The account is therefore balanced. Most heartily do I wish for every one of my readers a decent funeral and a peaceful grave. I have tolled my last knell, turned down my last sod, and am no longer a sexton of the old school.